to making growth more sustainable by encouraging the use of public transport and active travel. The new 905 service, which the Mayor has commissioned, means that residents in St Neots now for the first time have the choice of taking a bus service directly to the Cambridge Science Park, which is a high-wage employment super site with over 7,250 people working at the 130 companies based there, getting some of the thousands of single occupancy cars that crowd into the Science Park each day off the A428 will significantly assist many St Neots residents in addition to those who decide to commute by public transport. In addition, the 905 bus gives St Neots students direct access to Cambridge Regional College, again with the aim of reducing car journeys of staff and students. Furthermore, the 905 is arranged to assist people commuting by train from Camborne to London by providing a fast against flow bus link to St Neots Station, which is expected to reduce the number of cars parked for the day in the streets around the rail station. Instead of 5-year-old coaches, 2-year-old leather-seated double-decker buses with phone chargers at seats and able to travel at 60 miles an hour rather than 55 are now being used on the route. This strategic change to the bus service has been greeted by the Cambridge Area Bus Users Organisation as an excellent initiative. It focuses on getting more local people to their travel destinations without using cars by generating modal shift. We recognise that there's a small increase in the journey time from St Neots to Cambridge Drummer Street, around 10 minutes in the peak hours, but that the benefits to other users, including students, commuters and new users, and the opportunities the new route creates, all form part of a balanced decision in which the overall balance is strongly positive for the community, the economy and the environment. Formal consultation is normal in cases where bus links are lost or service frequencies are reduced. In this case, the service frequency has been enhanced, no links have been lost, and several new public transport links have been created.
Okay, is there a supplementary, please? No supplementary?
I think our questioner has, is he there?
Well, there he is.
Do you have a supplementary, Mr. Boyle?
Hello, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
So I missed part of the question, but I don't think I heard the answers to why there was no consultation. I heard the Cambridge Bus Users Group mentioned, but the merits of the new route, the time to discuss that and debate the pros and cons is before the change, not afterwards. I also have mentioned that consultation is normal for a lot of route, but also under the PSV guidance, there should be a longer notice period if the change involves more than 10 minutes change in the timetable. And this is even by Stagecoach's timetable, more than 10 minutes change to Central Cambridge. We have lost the route to Madeley Park and Ride, which is the hub to the biomedical campus, which you mentioned at the start of your question, start of your answer, sorry, about the growth in the Cambridge economy. That is driven by the biomedical campus. That is already twice the size of the Science Park and is going to grow. It's also where people go as outpatients to Addenbrooke's. And at this time, more so than ever, people have been visiting that site for COVID-related reasons. It is a testing site for COVID, and it will play a part in the vaccine if that is successful this year or early next year. So the biomedical campus should absolutely be the priority right now. And again, the question is, why was there no consultation?
So I'm sorry if you missed the that section of the answer. The consultation requirement is there, and let me just get the wording exactly right for you. The consultation requirement applies where bus links are lost or service frequencies are reduced. Now in this case, the service frequency was enhanced. No links.
The link to Central Cambridge, the link to the Madeley Park and Ride is lost, so a significant change in the route is the same as losing the service. The fact that it's got the same end destination doesn't really help if you're trying to get to Addenbrooke's Hospital for to visit a COVID relative or to go for a test, or if you're an NHS staff trying to attend the COVID ward. The fact that the end point is the same in Central Cambridge, and from that point you now have to get a bus to Addenbrooke's, that is a loss of service for those people. And again, at this point, I'm sure all of you were out clapping every Thursday not so long ago And yet here you are, you have an opportunity to improve services to the biomedical campus. If there was to be a change of route, it should go directly to the biomedical campus. In line with what you said outside about the growth in the economy, it should go to that campus rather than to Science Park. And yet you have the opportunity to do this, you actually, at very least, worsen the service to the campus and for those NHS staff. So again, regardless of, you say there's no loss of service, well, there is a loss of service for those people, and they're going to be driven into their cars.
Mayor, just to respond to that, we may need to drop Mr. Boyle a line, but at the same time, you will recall, Mayor, that you introduced a new service to the biomedical campus, and obviously these services converge at Camborne. So if the point is about interchange, the interchange is still possible. So we'll drop Mr. Boyle a line, pointing out how the linkage now works to the biomedical campus.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Boyle, and
thank you
for your concerns, and thank you, Mr. Rains. Do we have any other questions, Sue? No. Okay.
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. We move on to part 2, which is budget and performance report. Roland Potter, please.
All right, I'll just bring him in for you.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, committee. There is actually a change of presentation in regard to this. Roberta Fulton is to present the performance report, followed by Jalur Hussain to present the budget, the MTFP element.
Do you want me to bring them in, Roland?
Well, I'd leave it for the Mayor to make the decision.
Could you bring them in, please?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, is it Roberta first, please?
Oh, hello, can you hear me okay, please?
Jalur, you are upside down.
Upside down.
Yeah.
Good morning, can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. So this report provides the regular budget and performance update for the Transport and Infrastructure Committee. If I may start by drawing your attention to the performance section at the end of the report, I'll just do a quick brief update for that, please. So here you will see an overview of the transport projects as at the end of August. As you can see here, there is a rag graph at the bottom of the page 1, which shows a positive upward movement of 3 projects across the entire portfolio across the previous month. Members will also see a breakdown of the key projects aligning with that, and the metrics at the top are those that are reported to the board meeting on a quarterly basis. On page 2 of the performance dashboard, members are also presented with a set of transport metrics that are updated once a quarter as well. So that is the regular performance update. If I can now pass you over to Jalur. Jalur will run through the budget section of this report.
Thank you. Good morning all. Good morning, Mayor. Thank you all. In terms of the budget update for the revenue, the year-to-date spend up to the 31st of July is £7 million. Full year budget is £18.5 million. And the full year outturn variance is £112,000 favourable, and that's down to the A10 dualling and junctions project, which has now come to an end. The project was procured and has been managed internally by CPCA, and therefore saving on external costs. With regards to the capital budget, the year-to-date spend up to the same period is just under £8 million, with a full year budget of £62 million and a full year outturn variance of £560,000. and that's down to the following 3 projects: the A505 corridor. So this pre-SABC stage of the project is due to complete in November with a potential saving of £150,000. And the Fengate Access Study Phase 1, the SABC stage of the project is due to complete in September with a saving of £294,000. An update will be given at the November committee on both of these projects. And finally, the Soham station has also been reduced down, and that's due to efficiencies identified by working closely with Network Rail. Now, in terms of the MTFP and the budget setting process, the current MTFP is attached as Appendix 2. It includes both approved and subject to approval budgets. All of these costs are affordable within the combined authority's current resources. The committee is invited to review the current MTFP and consider whether there are any recommendations they wish to feed into the budget setting process. So I commend the report to the committee.
Okay, members, I have to apologise because I've been given the wrong briefing and which was being sorted out, so I apologise for that. But do we have any questions, please, for Gilles or for Roberta? Councillor Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one question, and I'm quite happy, for instance, to receive, I'm sure so will Councillor Seaton. It's in respect of performance, and it's the one which is red, which is the regeneration of the Fenland station. I would looking for a bit more detail, I think, as to where we've got, but happy, for instance, I'm sure, as Councillor Seaton would be, is to receive something after this meeting. But I just wanted to see what action we are proposing on that. Thank you.
Absolutely, I can provide a short briefing after this to cover that one off. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments, please? So we're asked to note the update, etc. So we have duly noted, and we move on to bus reform. And please, could I ask Roland Potter to introduce the bus reform?
I'm sorry, Mayor, that will be Oliver Howarth introducing that paper. Sue, can we bring Oliver in, please?
Yeah, just bringing him in now.
I think you might be able to hear me now.
You can, Oliver, thank you.
Excellent. Hello, good morning. Right, so the Bus Reform Task Force. The project identifies ways to deliver the improved bus services within the authority's area. The COVID-19 crisis has had a very significant impact on the bus market, and this report seeks approval for modifications to the bus reform work programme to reflect the issues that arise because of that. We've just heard from Roberta about the way in which the programmes are working. We are in a situation where we're very pleased with the progress we've made to date with the Bus Reform Task Force work. And yet we're in a situation where the next milestone will be to go to independent audit. Now, the members of the committee will be aware that at the moment, the English bus market is being propped up by the Treasury, giving effectively 8 weeks notice of removal of subsidy. That means, put another way, that in 8 weeks' time, we don't know whether the Treasury will be funding bus services across England, and that is a rolling 8-week programme. It clearly, therefore, makes it impossible to take any view on long-term issues within the bus market, because the entire financial framework is under review on a rolling basis. That being the case, because we are at a stage where we've done a lot of good work and we wish to take it forwards, but we aren't able to go to audit, then we are doing we're engaging directly at the top of government to try and find new ways to do this. And we're interfacing at the top of the Department for Transport prior to them writing the new national bus strategy. We're trying to influence strongly what's going on within that. If we move on to item 1.2, the purpose of the task force, today we're seeking a recommendation to the board to approve the remaining £1.2 million budget provision set out in the medium-term financial plan, and that will be used to fund short-term innovation trials to inform subsequent reform proposals, and to delegate the detailed allocation of the budget to trials to the Director of Delivery and Strategy, in consultation with the Chair of the Committee, subject to report of the detail back to future committee meetings.
Okay, thank you, Oliver. Do any members of the committee have a question or wish to make a comment? Peter Hiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just a little bit concerned that we've had no input from Peterborough City Council transport officers on this, and you know, it's a considerable amount of money. It's 1.2 million, but the report, I think, provides not a lot of detail as to where this money perhaps will be spent, and obviously, being a tad partisan, I'm just concerned that you know, I'd like Peterborough City Council officers to be involved, if that could possibly happen. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oliver, I'm sure you can give the reassurance to Councillor Hiller that that will be the case.
I am. I work regularly, several times a week, with Charlotte Palmer within your team. There's not a lot of people in the Peterborough team, but we are speaking with Charlotte.
That's fine, Oliver. Thank you very much. But could you also include Lewis Banks in on any correspondence?
I'm happy to do that. Yes.
With tomorrow, please.
Yeah, I think the reality is with the bus reform task force, what it was set up to do and what it will end up doing are two completely different things. You know, we had a little thing called COVID happen right in the middle of it, and that has completely and utterly thrown a bomb under our bus system, which is going to take some significant work to readdress. And the ambition of the bus reform task force was to create a better service for Cambridgeshire from the one that we had before COVID. Now we have bus usage at 30% or under. We have our major bus company, Stagecoach, losing £1.5 million a month. And we have real concerns over patronage and the issues around that. So this is a changing situation. Councillor van der Weyer.
Thank you very much. You explained very well why the situation is so uncertain, and it's difficult to be precise about what the next steps are really going to be. I just want to sort of just see if we could get a bit more of a sense about the things you're mentioning, especially in relation to 2.13. The first paragraph talks about modifications to the project plan. I mean, just a sort of sense of what those things might be, and the trials of new models. I mean, you mentioned DRT. Are there any sort of other trials that we could be looking at now?
Yes.
I mean, presumably you'll also be looking for ideas on this over the coming weeks.
Yeah. I mean, the whole point of the Bus Reform Task Force, Councillor van der Weyer, is to bring forward ideas. Now, DRT is something we are looking very, very closely, and we will be trialling, and we feel it could make a significant improvement to the rural bus service, even that we had before, and that's very important. Of course, we're also engaging constantly with government. There has been financial support that we've been able to make sure gets through to our transport providers, and that government is well aware. We have regular meetings, and government is well aware that this issue isn't solved yet and will need considerable thought process. I think what else are we doing? Well, of course, we've got our trials on e-scooters and e-bikes, which will be obviously e-scooters in Cambridge, e-bikes at all our railway stations, and we feel that may make a difference as well. But of course, we want all the help we can to get the right decisions through, to make sure that we make the right moves in restoring and re-energising the bus service. Councillor Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. it is very difficult times, as we all know, for the bus companies and for passengers. Okay, and hopefully we can all get through it eventually. So fully support that. So fully support the recommendations, by the way, just to clear that, as you might say. I again was looking at 2.13, which is about new models of service. And obviously we've got quite an extensive, in rural communities, a community bus operator in East Cambs and Fenland and Huntingdon in particular, where the rural areas. So I do also apologise because I couldn't attend the bus review meeting this week, so that may have been discussed at this particular point. So I'm a little bit like Peter, quite interested to see how all that pans out, because obviously a lot of people from Cambridgeshire County Council go into Peterborough to work, to school, to college, etc. So I'm making sure that we all join up between Peterborough City Council, Cambridgeshire County Council and yourselves in looking at any new models and demand, particularly in rural communities. So the offer really is, I think, if we can help, we will. And we're happy to work with you and with Peter and with Oliver in looking at those new models, whatever they may be. But it is difficult times for everybody here. But I think we need to recognise that and get out of the current crisis as we go forward.
Yeah, and that offer will be accepted. Of course, we can only solve this by working closely together, and by, I hope, giving people the confidence to go back onto public transport. And that would be helped more if we had less mixed messages coming from Whitehall, I think. But certainly my ambition has been to try and get people onto public transport and get people back into the workplace. And certainly I feel that we need to continue trying to do that. Councillor Massey.
Yeah, hi. Along the same theme on that, although I'd like to add that I am keen to see how these scooter trials go. I'd quite be keen to try one myself, but I've broken my ankle, so I think I probably shouldn't go on one just yet. Maybe wait some time for that. My question is that we have been asked to authorise the modifications, although we haven't got the details of those modifications. And as already been mentioned, we are living in difficult and really uncertain times. And I think in the report, it has mentioned that the traffic levels in Cambridge and Peterborough has increased in more so than what pre-COVID levels were, which I hate saying pre-COVID, but you know, normality levels have got increased somewhat. So how would any bus reform or any of these projects help if we are still living in a congested city that buses can't get in and out?
This is the conundrum, Nikki, and we need to get people out of their cars and onto e-bikes, e-scooters. We need to get them out of their cars and back into buses. And whilst people are afraid of the virus, it's going to be difficult, I think. And of course, the natural alternative is to move to a car, and we've seen rises in the sales of second-hand cars, it's a difficult thing to break. And as I said, we've got to work together to try and spread the message of using public transport, using buses, using trains, try to get people onto e-bikes and e-scooters, and try and alleviate that issue of congestion, which has been front and centre of our concerns as a combined authority with all our transport policies. And there's no doubt that this situation has put a massive spanner in the works of that. We need to do everything we can to try and give people the confidence to get back onto buses. Councillor van der Veer, you're back in.
I apologise, I hadn't put down my hand, sorry.
Right, thank you. So we move on to the recommendations. There are 4. I propose that we take them together. Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Bates, and a seconder, please.
I'll have a second.
Councillor van der Veer. All those in, well, I'll read through. Can I ask you to turn on, if they agree with the recommendations, please unmute your microphone to respond. Councillor Ian Bates. 3. Councillor Ryan Fuller.
4.
Councillor Peter Hiller.
Agree.
Councillor Nikki Massey.
Agree.
Councillor Josh Schumann.
4.
Councillor Chris Seaton.
3.
Councillor Ada van der Veer.
3.
Thank you. And I think that's unanimous, so thank you very much. Item 2.3 is the CAM OBC non-statutory consultation summary note. Graham Bampton, I believe, with Simon Wright, who's going to introduce.
I'll just,
Or is it just
yeah,
just
Graham's there.
Okay, thank you. Graham, welcome.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, committee. The purpose of this report is to, as requested, provide a summary overview of the initial findings of the non-statutory consultation report. The decision that we're looking for today is to note the findings of the summary report and to approve its release to the next Combined Authority Board at the end of this month. So in terms of background, the Combined Authority undertook an initial non-statutory consultation for CAM earlier this year between the 21st of February and the 3rd of April. We were seeking the public's view on the needs and benefits of CAM and also some views on the potential indicative route alignments underneath the city, which included proposed locations for portals and for city centre station locations. As part of this consultation, a wide range of questions were asked around the public's current travel methods and the views on the needs and benefits of CAM, and also the views on the key elements of the city tunnel section. The enclosed report provides a summary of those key findings from the consultation. As stated by the Mayor at the Combined Authority Board on the 30th of June, there's been a need to reassess the CAM Central Tunnel section OBC and all of the supporting documents, including the full consultation report. This reassessment, I'm sure as you are, is currently ongoing, and this includes reviewing the significant implications of the CAM Technical Advisory Committee paper, the Affordable Transit paper for Cambridgeshire that was released a while ago, but also to consider the potential impact on travel patterns of COVID-19, also to understand the implications of the One CAM strategy, and also the recent announcement of the creation of the CAM SPV. So the work that's been undertaken on the City Tunnel section OBC, including the consultation report, is being carried forward into the next stage of the development of the CAM programme, so that we're going to be looking at the network holistically, and it's proposed that a further report about the integrations, about the integration of CAM, One CAM strategy, etc., would be brought to committee in due course. So I'd like to request that the committee consider the decisions that are required, please.
Thank you very much. Any comments, members? Councillor van der Veer.
Yes, I have one brief comment on the consultation response and a question. I thought the more sort of qualitative responses were very interesting. I was a bit concerned about the prominence given to the quantitative ones, the percentage of support or strongly support for this bit or that bit. Given the nature of the consultation, I think I'm not sure how much one can take from that about support for particular locations or principles, because it was so high level. But there is nevertheless some useful stuff in there. I think it is worth asking if we could possibly have a bit more of a detailed discussion about the potential timelines for this, because obviously very complex project, and like as you described it, there's a lot going on there that needs to be taken into account. But I think given all the work that's been done, I think could hope for a bit more clarity about timelines, if possible.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the delivery strategy is being developed. Councillor van der Veer, we saw as essential preparatory work to enable the effective procurement process for a One CAM OBC. This procurement process is expected to begin later this year, with commencement of the OBC work anticipated to start in early spring 2021. And I think it's entirely appropriate that that's the case. We've had the COVID impact, which I feel needed to be taken into consideration. Also, the exceptional work by the TAC group of the CAM Partnership Board, which has given us a clear indication of the kind of world-class public transport system, the innovative system that we can bring forward for this fantastic county. So the timeline is clear. I think it's appropriate that you ask the question, and I think that we've got a clear direction forward. Any further comments to Graham's report? Okay, so we ask for a proposer, please. Councillor Seaton, and a seconder, please. Councillor Schumann. And if you would unmute your mute buttons and if you and respond to all those in favour. Councillor Bates. Councillor Fuller. Councillor Hiller. Councillor Massey. Councillor Schumann. Councillor Seaton. And Councillor van der Veer. Okay, thank you very much. Another unanimous vote, so I appreciate that.
Mr. Mayor, sorry to just jump in. I'm conscious that we've slightly confused matters on the office side by issuing a couple of different, potentially a slight couple of different programme notes for today's meeting. What I wanted to do, I think we've given you you've got the correct one now that you're working, so I just wanted to make sure that we didn't miss item 2.1, which was the Transport Restart Group. Roland took us to what is actually item 2.7 early in this meeting. So I just wanted to highlight that to you, Mayor, so that we didn't miss that item. Right, and apologies, I'll look into this issue. Yes,
as I said, working for the wrong notes initially, and my apologies for that as well. So we need to go back to item 2.1, which is the Transport Restart Group. And this one is Roland Potter, I believe.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, committee. COVID-19 Transport Restart. I'm talking from the superseded paper. There was a initial draft published that was then, once identified, quickly replaced with the superseded paper. This report updates the committee.
Sorry, can I interrupt briefly? Can we just clarify? I downloaded the papers off the website first thing this morning. Will that be the correct paper?
It was at the bottom.
Yes, I believe so. Yes,
it was at the bottom of the
on the website.
Yeah.
So this report updates the committee on the restart of the transport system following the COVID-19 restrictions. The Transport Committee is recommended to note the update and comment on priorities for further activity to restart the transport system. In background, government expects combined authorities to lead the restart of the transport systems following the COVID lockdown, and we as a combined authority have certainly taken that on board, working within the framework of the Local Resilience Forum, the Strategic Coordinating Group and Recovery Coordination Groups, bringing partners together to influence the transport recovery. This group is chaired by the Combined Authority and brings together the two highways authorities, the police and public health colleagues, two main city councils, a representative from the bus operator, Network Rail, Highways England and the Department of Transport, and it has subsequently met weekly since the 1st of June. The group has three main tasks. Task A, ensuring the public transport restarts to as near 100% of pre-COVID network as possible. B, ensuring a package of active travel measures is implemented to mitigate potential increases in private car use. And C, monitoring data in relation to the impact of COVID-19 on transport and considering what further measures might be needed to maintain the transport recovery. I'd like to make it clear that home to school transport is not directly within the group's remit. However, the group has been conscious of the concerns that this week in particular could experience increased potential congestion around schools, and we worked very closely with the home to school transport and the education teams across Peterborough and Cambridgeshire County to look at scenarios, etc., and try and mitigate that. Current situation, obviously COVID-19 has had a significant impact in terms of transport, and at the extreme trough of the lockdown, vehicle traffic on main roads in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough fell to 30% of pre-lockdown levels. 42% of buses and 50% of trains ran, and passenger numbers were just 4% of normal. At the time of preparing this report, vehicle traffic had bounced back to an average of 105% of pre-lockdown levels across our region. And in South Cambridgeshire and Huntingdonshire, it was at an average of 120% or more of pre-lockdown levels. I would qualify that that is based on automatic number plate recognition locations, which do tend to be on the more strategic routes rather than the local routes. What we have noticed, though, is that despite these higher levels, the morning peak and the evening peak does not seem to be experiencing the same congestion impacts as pre-lockdown levels. The traffic seems to be spread more widely across the day, and the travel to work seems to have changed. Now, since this report, we have had some more up-to-date data, and I can give you a slightly better breakdown. Cambridgeshire County Council is as of this Monday running at 109% of pre-COVID, so 9% above pre-COVID. Peterborough City Council was 5% above. Cambridge City is 78% of pre-COVID, so 22% lower. East Cambridgeshire District Council is at 18% above pre-COVID. Fenland District Council 28% above. Huntingdon District Council 20% above, and South Cambridgeshire District Council 22% above. As I say, the indicators across the traffic management teams are that these may be higher numbers, but they tend to be on the strategic routes. One of the anecdotal reports coming into us is that where the strategic routes may have been congested for people before, and they may have gone onto more local routes, what we would commonly term as rat runs, not a term I particularly like, but one that people will understand, a lot of those rat runs have become much quieter, and people that have gone from those have gone into the strategic routes. So there is certainly a shift in behaviour. Bus firms have made determined efforts to restore their networks. Supported subsidised services are running at 100% of normal levels, and commercial services are running at over 90% of normal levels. Passenger numbers have not recovered, however they are at about 30 to 35% of normal. We're well aware, and we've discussed in previous papers the nature of that. An emergency bus service support grant was provided by government, and to ensure that services can continue, this grant has been extended indefinitely on a rolling 8-week basis. But as previously mentioned in the previous report, we're engaged with DFT, and the Mayor himself is having regular meetings with ministers, etc. Additional services have been put on by the bus companies for this week in preparation for the return to school and the potential increased demand. So Centre Bus were dealing with capacity issues on one of their routes and put an additional service on. Whippet have put 2 additional services on, plus 2 spare buses to cater for any spikes. Dews have put 2 spares on to cater for any spikes. Stagecoach have put on 4 additional buses plus 13 spare buses for any potential spike impacts, then they can be deployed. That has been work that has been undertaken by Oliver and representatives at both Cambridgeshire County Council and Peterborough City Council to ensure that that capacity is available. Train data is difficult to obtain, but we understand the general picture of the rail system is similar to buses. We have been made aware of issues on the cross-country service impacting particularly Whittlesea, March and Mainy stopping services, this has been brought to our attention. The main issue relating to some school children being able to get back from Peterborough has had an alternative put in from discussion with Network Rail. They managed to encourage Greater Anglia to put in an additional stopping service that only created a 20-minute delay for those children, but there was equally an additional bus service put on by Cambridgeshire County Council, so there was an option for those individuals. And we are currently dealing with a concern that's been raised with that same stopping service not stopping at Whittlesea, and we are engaging with DFT and Network Rail to look at what the solutions may be. In terms of the return to school, obviously this week was the main concern, and you can expect congestion in the first week back to school because there are new years going to schools, and you do tend to find an increase in traffic, particularly for the first up to 3 weeks. However, I can report that the reports coming from the traffic team within Cambridgeshire County Council particularly, and from the education teams, is that there have been no significant issues reported, and in fact in Cambridge itself at 8:30 on Monday morning there were only 3 routes that were showing delays above normal journey time, with an average of between 2 and 4 minutes, and they were Barton Road, Newmarket Road and Babraham Road. So the Restart Group has worked closely with the education team and operators, and also the comms communication teams have been working closely with public messaging to encourage the safe use of public transport and active travel. It is very difficult for the group to forecast how people are going to behave or what the nature of their travel will be, and so the group has had the necessity to adopt a monitor and manage approach, and we monitor it throughout the week before each restart on a Monday. The Combined Authority was awarded 2.94 million for the active travel measures. This funding will be received in 2 tranches. The Combined Authority advanced the full amount to Cambridgeshire County Council and Peterborough City Council ahead of receiving the money to maintain pace. The measures for tranche 1, Peterborough City Council have delivered 6 schemes in tranche 1 with additional monitoring sensors, some citywide promotional signage, and will commence school streets projects once the schools go back, so that is now being looked at. Cambridgeshire County Council developed a tranche 1 set of active travel schemes, including temporary segregated cycle lanes and other measures. Following consultation with district councils and other stakeholders, 32 of these schemes have now been delivered, with a further 12 still to deliver. In tranche 2, Peterborough will deliver 3 segregated cycle lanes, and Cambridgeshire County Council's tranche 2 active travel programme, having been developed in consultation with district councils and stakeholders, is extremely complex and extensive and includes measures across every district. There are 87 identified schemes to be delivered in tranche 2. The Combined Authority also received a grant of 678,000 to fund extra home to school transport. This money again is being transferred to the education authorities across Cambridgeshire County and Peterborough. The lead on home to school transport is with the education authorities, but as previously mentioned, Combined Authority officers have been working closely with that department to look at and also with Peterborough City Council and Cambridgeshire County Council officers in relation to bus services to ensure sufficient capacity is out in the network. The Transport Restart Group will continue to meet for the time being and to report through the RCG and SCG mechanisms of the Local Resilience Forum. And on that basis, I commend this report to the committee.
Thank you, Roland. Just to add on top of that, I intend this week to write to the Rail Minister, Chris Heaton-Harris, about the standard of service that cross-country trains offer to Cambridgeshire. The route between Stansted and Birmingham has always had a poor service through the Fens. It doesn't stop at Cambridge North Station, and yet beyond Peterborough to Birmingham, it stops at every single station on the way. We have been, with the County Council as well, in conversation with cross-country trains over a number of years, and they have not they've offered lots and not delivered anything. I think it was a massive mistake that they were offered. They were allowed to carry through their franchise without reapplying in 2018-19, and I think that we have suffered accordingly. And I think enough is enough. So I intend to discuss this with the Rail Minister. Councillor Seaton.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know whether it's appropriate at this time to ask. I have a couple of questions regarding the A47, and as Roland is with us, I wondered whether this was an opportune moment to raise those questions.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay, the first one is, and I'm sure everyone is like me, very disappointed that the recent infrastructure upgrade from government made no reference or no mention to the dualling of the A47 from the A16 through to east of Wisbech. Yesterday, you may know that there was another very serious incident which closed the A47 between Guyherne and Wisbech, resulting in a very serious injury to one of the people. The road was closed for approximately 8 hours again, and on that, you know, I'd like to know what the next steps are from the CPCA on lobbying the government to see whether this can be brought forward again. So that's my first question. The second one was on the Guyherne roundabout, which is still has a start date of 2021 and a completion of 2022. But within that time frame, I don't know when it does start and when it ends. Is it the beginning and the end of each year, or what? So I wonder whether there's any update on that, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Roland, could you help Councillor Seaton with his questions, please?
Yes, I'm happy to, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Seaton, for your questions. We too equally were disappointed in the decision by government not to include the A47 dualling proposals within their RIS2 programme. This team worked extremely hard, as you know, with consultants, and the Mayor gained approval through consultation with the Chief Executive of the time at Highways England to allow this team to work in collaboration with Highways England to develop a product to their highest standard of development consent order standard at their project control framework stage 0, much higher than our competitors for the RIS2 were being asked to do. And our team developed this at about a fifth of the cost that was estimated by others. It came in under £800,000, and we achieved the highest outcome in terms of their independent stage gate assessment review, getting a green result. So we were obviously optimistic that that we would be looked upon favourably. I can't comment on the funding package that Highways England DFT have got in terms of RIS2 and how they therefore decided upon their schemes, but we unfortunately weren't. Needless to say, we had a plan B, which we had discussed previously, which was to continue dialogue with DFT and Highways England to look at the continued development of the A47 scheme through alternative funding methods outside of the RIS2 programme. That dialogue is ongoing. There have been conversations, there has been representation by the Mayor to Highways England, and there has been representation by officers to Highways England and DFT, and we have a request into Highways England at the moment to meet with their their national head of strategy to look at those alternative proposals. And we would hope, therefore, to be able to come back to this committee and the board in future months, yet to be determined, with some proposals. So our efforts have not waned, our enthusiasm has not waned, our determination is still strong, and please be assured that that is very much the case, and we have certainly suggestions that we can make to Highways England and DFT to look at developing through the next stage of PCF stage 1. In regards to Guyherne roundabout, Highways England have commitment to undertake Guyherne roundabout, despite comments that Fenland may have made and despite comments we may have made in relation to their design. They are committed to doing it. in terms of their timing, we have made requests to get an update on that. They have had some recent internal project management changes. However, they do have a contractor and designer on board, and they have been working on that scheme for probably getting on to just under a year now, or just over a year. And you would know that they have done some survey work in terms of geotechnical and topographical studies. So we believe that they are just finalising their analysis in regard to that, and we would hope to get an update shortly as to the timing of their delivery. And as soon as we get that information, we'll forward it on.
Okay, thank you very much. Roland, Councillor Bates.
Thank you. Two things to bring to attention. This on the 15th of this month, the Tranche 2 report is going to Cambridge County Council. It is now in the public domain, so you can actually see the 87. I think it's also actually a demonstration of how we can all work together with the districts and the Combined Authority coming together with these sort of things. Can I just support your letter in respect of the trains from Birmingham to Stansted? Been a frustration with me personally for yes, that number of years. I can't remember how many years. Okay, and I'm sure if you need anybody else to sign that letter, James, I'm sure Steve Count would be only too pleased to do so, or Roger Hickford, or whoever. Okay, it's been a bone in my side for 5 years. Okay, when we built the Cambridge North, and I would love to get on a train to go to Stansted Airport in the future, maybe not today.
We'll see what we can do with them. Councillor van der Veer.
Thank you very much. Yes, so the figures that you cited about increases in car use on the major roads, I think, is a very big concern. I mean, they're really quite large increases. Despite those caveats you made, it's only the major roads. I mean, the implication of that is that if it gets any higher, then it'll immediately start spilling over into rat runs. The other caveat you made was about the timing of those routes, and point was made in the report about that there's not as much peak time congestion as you would have expected given pre-COVID levels of traffic. And I wanted to sort of understand a little bit more about that, whether there's any more analysis that can be done on what those journeys are. So if we're using ANPR, can we see them at cars at different points? And also the timing of that. What is the actual profile of that traffic during the day? Because I think, despite the fact that it's not currently causing congestion, I think we should be thinking hard about how we can deal with it now, and certainly how we can deal with any further changes. And that really does require us to work out what that traffic is, because it clearly isn't lots of people going to their offices at peak time, which that will undoubtedly come back in periods, and especially as the natural increase in congestion towards Christmas does, I'm sure, will occur, even of a slightly different nature.
Roland?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Aidan van der Weyer. You're absolutely right, and it's an agenda item that we discuss every week at the Transport Restart Group in terms of how can we develop and enhance the insights data that we receive, and how can we interrogate that more accurately, and that has developed significantly over time. And we have the Insights Group at Cambridgeshire County Council providing us the data, and they are challenging the data sources as to how can we look at the profiles that you yourself have suggested there. There are some challenges in relation to the data being broken down into that detail and granularity from the data sources that we gather it from, but the influence is going in, and we're trying to encourage that. In terms of the congestion concern, yes, it's something that we are conscious of and we monitor regularly, and I have regular meetings with the traffic management teams across Cambridgeshire in particular, and this is where we're getting the evidence that there is a rebalance at the moment as to where the car use appears to be. Now, admittedly, we don't want people to then, we don't want the traffic to become congested on the main routes and then spill back into the local routes. But I think what it says is that the increase in traffic on the major routes at the moment is actually creating a benefit in the local routes, and we're still a long way off the capacity of pre-COVID in those terms. It then leads to the continued support and the continued development of our infrastructure programme that we have approved at board level and needs to continue, because as when these things change, we need to have the improvements that have already been identified being brought forward.
Thank you. Okay, everybody happy? No more indications to speak. So the committee is noted to update the Transport Restart Group's work, and I think we've given it a good airing. So duly noted, and thank you, Roland, for the work you've done on this so far. I think that the points made are very valid here. You know, we are concerned. I think there is significant concern about, and we've mentioned this with a theme through this meeting, about the lack of people using buses and trains, and we need to get them confident, give them the confidence back to use public transport. I'm wondering if, after the massive success of Eat Out to Help Out, whether or not government maybe we could discuss with government, or maybe I would be able to discuss with government potentially doing something similar for public transport, because I feel there needs to be an impetus to get people back into buses and trains. I've been on the buses, I've been on the trains, I feel very comfortable, and I feel that we can't risk allowing everybody just to get used to using their cars again, because, not speaking for the entire country, but in Cambridgeshire, our roads simply can't cope with that, and that's a simple fact. So we now move forward to, Roland, don't go away, we move to the item 2.4, which is a Transforming Cities Fund delivery plan, and Roland, you're in the chair again.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, committee. Transforming Cities Fund Delivery Plan. The purpose of this is to inform the committee of the Combined Authorities Transforming Cities Fund Delivery Plan for 2020-2021. Transport Committee has recommended to note the Transforming Cities Fund Delivery Plan. The Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority received devolved Transforming Cities funding from the Department of Transport. This is part of the Combined Authorities Investment Fund single pot. DFT have requested that a report on the use of devolved Transforming Cities Fund should be submitted each year, and the latest report is attached. For the purposes of transparency, I'm not sure that this committee has seen previous reports. As stated within the grant determination of March 2018, the purpose of the Transforming Cities Fund is to boost productivity, transform intra-city connectivity and reduce congestion through investment in public and sustainable transport in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. Decisions about how to invest the fund are taken by the Combined Authority Board in accordance with the aims for the fund and the Combined Authorities priorities as set out in the Growth Ambition Statement, the Local Transport Plan and Business Plan. This means that the delivery report is a document of factual record and does not involve new decisions or contain information that has not already been set out in the MTFS, the business plan, or committee papers relating to individual projects. The delivery plan records how TCF funding is being used in support of schemes which deliver the vision, aims and objectives of the LTP and other key strategies, including the devolution deal, the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Independent Economic Review, and the CPCA Growth Ambition Statement, which responded to it, the non-statutory spatial framework and the local industrial strategy. In addition, the Department of Transport has commissioned a national independent gateway review of the Transforming Cities Fund. Areas where Transforming Cities Fund has been devolved are within the scope of that review, and the Combined Authority is engaging with the independent review team appointed to the DFT. And on that basis, I commend this report to the committee.
Thank you, Roland. Any comments, please? Such a comprehensive report, Roland, that everybody is entirely satisfied. I think the Transforming Cities Fund has really allowed us to put some measures in place, but I think that meat on the bones of it with our ability to go back and request extra funding, which I think will be able to see us bring forward significant change across the whole of, or opportunity across the whole of the county and Peterborough too. Councillor Massey.
Hi, thank you. It's just a really quick question to ask whether we could possibly have a table to show how the projects that are listed match the criteria for the Transforming Cities Fund, and that's the only point I had on it.
Okay, I'm sure that that's achievable, and Roland is nodding away, so we will make sure that is circulated. Okay, so we're asked to note, and we have duly noted. So thank you very much, and we move on to 2.5, which is the response to England's Economic Heartlands Transport Strategy Consultation, and Tim Bellamy is going to introduce the report. Tim. Charles. Tim, we need you to unmute.
Sorry, I'll start again. Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, members. Hope you can all hear me now. This paper is to discuss the England Economic Heartland Transport Strategy, their proposal for a sub-national transport body, and to provide an update on the proposed connectivity study between Peterborough, Northampton and Oxford. Before I start, I'd like to express apologies that the recommendation has slightly been amended in the paper. The first one will be around advising members of to advise board of the public consultation rather than approving the response. So the England Economic Heartland is a partnership with local transport authorities, LEPs, and covers the Oxford Cambridge arc from Swindon in the west to Cambridge and Peterborough in the east, and the authority is an associate member of the EEH. The transport strategy aims to enable the transport system to support sustainable economic recovery and growth whilst reaching the net zero emissions by 2050. In addition, as I outlined earlier, the EEH are consulting on becoming a sub-national transport board, and I'll cover that off in due course. The consultation runs to the 6th of October, and this paper and the appendix to it form the basis of the response following discussion previously at the leaders' strategy meeting. The strategy has 5 priorities, which were decarbonise the transport system, investment in the digital infrastructure, East-West Rail, investment in active travel, and looking at the first and last mile, but also making sure that the needs of freight and logistics continue to be met. In general, the strategy aligned to the Growth Ambition Statement and the LTP and our business plan, and it recognises East-West Rail, CAM, Felixstowe and the Eastern Corridor, etc. However, it is limited on a number of other priorities, such as the A10 and A47. And mindful of the discussion we had previously in previous items, such as Councillor Seaton saying about the A47, I would welcome advice and feedback from members on whether they would like those schemes to be listed in the response and in the document in due course. In addition, it's limited on environmental ambitions compared to the authority. For example, we in the LTP and our other trustee document include doubling of nature targets. So actually, do we want to go back to the EEH and try and push them on some of their targets and some of those issues? Also, we've already touched on COVID, and therefore the strategy will need to be kept under constant review related to COVID and what the impacts are following the pandemic. Moving on to the connectivity study, EEH have proposed a programme of studies to work with partners to identify proposals that will eventually go into an investment pipeline. One such proposal is the Peterborough, Northampton and Oxford corridor, and they aim to come forward with an integrated package of transport measures. At the moment, it's at a scoping stage, and so feedback from members will be welcome on this, especially whether we integrate the A47 and other items we may want to go forward. And then finally, with regard to the Sub-National Transport Board, as outlined in the paper, there's 3 functions for Sub-National Transport Board. It is to prepare a transport strategy, provide advice to Secretary of State about the exercise of transport functions, and coordinate and the carrying out of those transport functions. Once established, the DfT will use the Economic Heartland to help prioritise funding applications and have the potential to vary Highways England's risk plans. The proposals could run and have been stated to run concurrently with the authority and also those of this county and city council. Sorry, Peterborough City Council. But it's not clear on how bus powers would be taken on board, especially following the discussion we've had on previous agenda items around the bus reform and CAM, and those discussions will need to continue. In addition, it is understood that highways authorities for the combined authority area have in the past not been enthusiastic about the concurrent powers with regard highway works. So again, feedback from members would be welcome. And finally, there's a potential that the Cambridge and Peterborough area will feel it will get a sense of being bookended, because we're at the end, we're at the eastern outskirts of the E8, but also you have transport east to the east of the area, and therefore will priority of funding and also programs be looked at elsewhere. So the recommendations are that members are asked to consider a draft response, which is outlined in Appendix 1, and as I say, that's with previous discussion at leader strategy, and also to express views on the proposed connectivity study between Peterborough, Northampton and Oxford. I commend this report to the committee. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Tim. I've already got Councillor Seaton has agreed to ask to speak. Councillor Seaton.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Firstly, I knew nothing about this Heart of England setup until told by our leader, Councillor Chris Bowden, which is a bit surprising because I hold a transport portfolio for Fenland. Now, I know we're on the periphery of what could be called the Heart of England, but I just wonder, do we really need a third layer of transport authority, which it appears to be? We have the CPCA, we have counties highways. You know, I thought the government were trying to reduce the layers of government. Now we seem to be increasing it. So just two comments there, but certainly I would like to know a little bit more about the Heart of England, because until today I know very little. Thank you.
The reality is, Chris, that you've got areas that could deliver a transport solution, and Cambridgeshire sits between them. There is a Norfolk, Suffolk, Essex area, and there is this England's economic heartland. Of course, as you say, the combined authority already has those transport powers itself. So where is it best aligned? My view has always been, if there was one for the whole of the East and the economic heartland, then you could potentially create something exceptional. I don't feel that there's anything in it really to join with one or the other that we haven't got already. And of course, the Cambridgeshire economy is so extraordinarily strong that I feel that we are able to, and as we are a combined authority, we're able to stand slightly to one side of either. Until, and I have tried to encourage Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex to come into a single scheme. Norfolk were originally keen, but Essex decided that Essex and Suffolk went together, so they went in with that. But I still think in the long term, the likelihood is that there will be a single route across the central belt of the UK. Councillor van der Veen.
Yeah, the comments you just made in what I wanted to say, which is about how we respond to this, the desire of the clear desire of the organisation, England's Economic Heartlands, to become a subnational transport body. As I understand it, the government wants these bodies to be set up so that they can do that sort of quite large-scale strategic work with quite established organisations, and you set out some of the pros and cons here. I think the position that is implied in this response is that we don't think anything should happen until we worked out how Edenham's economic heartland and Transport East fit together and how we fit into it, I think would be isn't quite as constructive as we probably need to be at this stage in the process. We don't want. I think if we're just saying we want to hold things up, I think that would disadvantage us. As I understand it, there are significant advantages to being part of a subnational transport body, and it's not really sustainable not to be part of one. England's economic heartland there are some issues in their focus, which you've raised quite well, and the problem of being bookended, and I think we can deal with that, and you make the case well here. But I don't think that should prevent us from participating fully in it. And given the economy of Cambridge, Greater Cambridge and Peterborough and Huntingdonshire in particular, so the vast majority of the combined authority areas is very well integrated with Northamptonshire, Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, which is part of EEH. That clearly seems to be the way that we should be looking to develop those links.
Any further comments, please? No. So the committee is recommended. The recommendations are there before you. Do I have a proposer, please?
I'm happy to support this, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bates. And a seconder, please. No seconder. Councillor Schumann. So we move to the vote, and I will ask you all in turn, in alphabetical order. Councillor Bates.
For.
Councillor Fuller, I believe, has left the meeting. So Councillor Hiller, who also seems to have left the meeting. Councillor Schumann. For. Councillor Seaton. For. Councillor, sorry, I apologise, Councillor Massey. I've switched the page, and please don't take it personally, and I will go back to you, Councillor Massey. For. Okay. Councillor Schumann, had I asked you already? I had, so Councillor.
You did, Mayor, but I'm for. Yes, thank you.
Councillor Seaton.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And Councillor van der Veer.
I think I'm going to abstain, Mayor.
You're going to abstain. Okay. Thank you. So, and I would be voting in favour. So, thank you very much. Would you please, Sue, be able to, or Robert, be able to report the outcome of the vote, please?
Yeah, that's duly carried.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Item 2.6 is Soham Station update. Robert Jones.
I'm just letting him in now.
Thank you.
Morning, Mayor. Good morning, committee.
Morning, Robert.
The paper I presented this morning is for Soham Railway Station update. The purpose of the paper is to note two items. One, the commencement of works on site, and two, the commencement of Network Rail, reducing the timescale to complete the works 5 months earlier than planned. Soham Station has been without a rail connection for almost 55 years. The project will reinstate the railway station at Soham, providing the direct link to Ely to the west and Ipswich to the east. This will bring sustainable transport benefits to the growing market town of Soham and support the economic and housing growth. The project has had significant public and partner support. The design will provide attractive approach and in the setting of the new station, as well as facilitating access provision. The combined authority approved a Grip 4 business, the board approved a Grip 4 business case and authorised the project to progress to complete from Grip 5 to 8, which is the design and construction phase, at its meeting in September of 2019. The progress to date is features in terms of planning permission was granted by East Cambridgeshire District Council on the 26th of June, which is earlier than planned. The Combined Authority officers have agreed a programme of efficiencies with Network Rail, who are the delivery partner for the works, and that has resulted in a programme acceleration. And this is now expected that the new railway station will be completed in December rather than in December 21 rather than May 22, which is a saving of 5 months. This is something that was mentioned by the Mayor back in September of last year, which is was an objective that we embraced and have taken forward with Network Rail. In addition to that, we have also commenced rail works, which were completed in late August on track. And the planned completion of the construction is due to be in October of next year, facilitating the timetable change in December for the station opening. The contract for the design and construction phase has been signed between Network Rail and J. Murphy and Sons Limited as the contractor and Atkins as their designer. The first section of the railway track improvement was carried out over the weekend of the 22nd and 23rd of August, and in preparation for the future track replacement in summer of 2021. The on-site works commenced on the 1st of September, and a full programme of activity is now in place following through to October 21, with subsequent station commissioning work to follow leading to December opening. I recommend this report and note to the committee.
Thank you, Robert. Councillor Schumann has already indicated to speak. Councillor Schumann.
Probably comes as no surprise, Mayor. Thank you very much. I just wish to say, well, firstly as a Soham resident, but also as the ex-county councillor for Soham and current county councillor for some villages surrounding Soham, this is indeed really, really positive news. I'm delighted, obviously, to hear about the progress on the station, full stop, because it will be a huge benefit to the local community, but obviously even more delighted to hear that it's going to be ahead of schedule. And just to give context for those that are unaware, this station had in the past a checkered past where it was destroyed by an explosion during the Second World War, but that didn't stop it. And they rebuilt it very quickly after. Contrary to common belief, a lot of people think that's when it closed, but no, not even a bomb could stop it then, but sadly Dr. Beeching could. And so it's been many years that Soham hasn't had that station, despite a huge amount of growth in residential and industrial developments around the town. And with forecasted growth in the villages surrounding Soham and Soham itself continuing, it seems absolutely right when we've sat earlier in today's meeting talking about sustainable transport and talking about taking cars off roads, that a big community like Soham and the surrounding villages would be at last serviced by this station. So I never miss the opportunity, Mayor, to thank you for this, your doggedness on this, but I sincerely mean that, and also to speak up and to praise the work that's gone on to bring Soham Station back. So very happy to support and note the context of this report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Schumann, and I hope that in the next few years we will also see the reopening of Wisbech Rail, the proper improvement of Fenland stations. I know there are ambitions to bring forward a station at Sawston, which I am supportive of. I'm absolutely committed to delivery of rail improvement to rail infrastructure across our county. The work with Soham Station doesn't stop here. The loop at Newmarket would greatly enhance the opportunities for these people in Soham to get to Cambridge and to London. But not only that, it alleviates the pressure on the King's Cross Kings Lynn line. And I've recently been in discussions with the Jockey Club in Newmarket about improving the route west of Cambridge to Newmarket and to Bury St Edmunds and beyond. Might not be in Cambridgeshire, but it's tremendously important for our travel to work areas and the growth of the Cambridgeshire region. So the commitment from the Combined Authority to improve rail is absolute and will continue. We are also in discussions with government on the Ely North issue, which is of course such a blockage to rail times, and I've already mentioned my frustration with Crossrail, which is shared by Councillor Bates for many bruised years. So rail improvements don't stop at Soham, they are for the whole of Cambridgeshire, and we will continue to work towards that goal. So there's no other speakers, so we will move the recommendations. and there's just noting, so I don't think we need to have a vote. So
All right.
Mr. Shaw is duly noting that the work has begun at Soham Station, and that they're indicating that the project will be completed in time for people to catch trains in December of 2020. Now, I believe we've already completed 2.7 on the agenda. So we move on to part 3, which is just the date of the next meeting, which is Wednesday, the 4th of November 2020 at 10 a.m, which I hope, and I am ambitious, that we will be able to meet in person rather than through the jilted and stilted Zoom function. So thank you very much for your attendance today, members, and I hope very much to see you all in person on the 4th of November.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.